Out for a while, just to give you a reason why United haven't often played without Bruno Fernandes. He's played 325 times since his debut, and in that period he's missed just 17 of those 325 games.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing run, and I think that's why almost surprised. We were surprised. We've never really seen him do that, and I was hopeful that with the carrying on and coming off at half-time that it might have been a kind of a smaller one, really, and it's a bit of a precaution at half-time, but the manager didn't really want to commit too much, understand. I have to say, as much as that we thought of the impact again, I thought United dealt with it very well, actually, and Ugarte and particularly Martinez coming into midfield. I thought it didn't really disturb the flow of the game. I know, obviously, they scored with and conceded the goal, but actually, if you're looking at the flow of it, I thought that United were in a good place for a lot of that game, and surely they've got to miss Bruno because he offers so much and he impacts the team a lot. I like the way the manager was positive and said, we've got to get on, we've got to find a way, and we've got solutions, and we have to play young boys. We do great, we'll back them. I think you've got to just embrace the situation and take it for what it is, and it's a big period of time coming up for them in the games over Christmas.
It is, because he's got 4 away with AFCON. He's got De Ligt and Maguire still out. He's lost Fernandes today, and obviously we don't know the situation with Kobbie Mainoo. I mean, that's when you look at the bench today, that's quite a list for Manchester United to cope with.
Yeah, they didn't look strong from the outset, did they? Both on the pitch and in the subs. But now he probably wishes that he had to give the kids a little opportunity, dropping them in 10 minutes, 15 minutes here or there, because now he's going to be forced to do it. But it's up to the boys now to take their opportunity. You mostly get your chance in adversity, and now they've got the opportunity. So Kobe's going to have to get himself fit, and he's going to have an opportunity to go and play. I just worry, you talk about managing minutes, when they've had so many games in the past, playing in Europe, playing cup competitions. Now they're not. Now they're playing from Premier League to Premier League. I don't think they're training enough. I really don't. I think you have to manage your schedule, and that means putting in some harder sessions during the week and train as you play. And I think that is why it can only be a muscle injury we're talking about there. That's something they're not doing correct in training, because if the games are coming thick and fast, there's enough game time. We talked about the man. I mean, the availability of Bruno Fernandes is incredible, but he's been playing an awful lot of games over the years. Now it's only 1 game a week, and he's playing the next one. They have to step up their training. I'm a firm believer that a lot of injuries come from under-training. I don't listen to this nonsense of overplaying, and I just don't buy into it. I just think it's about, if you're not training as firm as and with the aggression of what you're playing, then when the adrenaline's flowing and the crowd are around the pitch, you're going to get yourself injured. And I think I can only surmise that he's under-trained there, because he's only playing 1 game a week. Bruno Fernandes, he doesn't miss a game, but he's usually playing 2 games a week.
Did you get a Christmas card from the sports science department at Villa?
Yeah.
You did. Yeah. I mean, you've been here. When you lose players, you have to, like you say, you've used the word embrace, but you have to be inventive, don't you? Like a Martinez in midfield today.
Yeah, I think you've got to see it as the challenge, and there's the number of games in the league and the number of games in cups or whatever. That's just how it is. It always is that, and you always get, every team gets injuries, and it's how you get through it. It's not one team. I know you might get a few more than everyone gets them at some point. Yeah. Some have got squads that can cope with it, but actually it's always a thing. And part of being successful in the league is who can adapt, who can get on with it, who's positive, who's prepped right, whether you've got games or not games, and getting through a season. It's not a perfect world, and I actually thought they adapted and made the most of probably what they could today. But it's not new. It's not going to go away. You can't play less games, but you're still going to get injuries, but you've got to make the most of it and take on the challenge to go, actually, I'm fit enough, I'm strong enough, or we can fight and we can scrap and we can get through it. And I see it as a big challenge rather than the negatives of what we're missing.
Yeah. Well, he ended by saying he felt that Manchester United were very unlucky. He started by saying he thought they were the better team today. What do you think?
I disagree that they were unlucky. They gave up 2 goals defensively. When you look over the last 2 games, 2 today, 4 against Bournemouth, that's not good enough. We praise them for what they're doing going forward. More of a goal threat, and again, Cunha missed a great chance maybe to get a point, and again, that would have been 2 goals for him. But the amount of chances and goals they're giving up, you're never really going to make big progress. That's all right for us, maybe a small club where you might be an entertaining club, but just you can still dig deep. They still have to find a way, and after the game, I've always felt as a player, I'd prefer the points than the praise. So there's no point coming out afterwards and saying, particularly at Man United, going, yeah, well, you know, we played really well, we were a bit unlucky. No, I'd rather come out and get, no, we weren't at our best, but I tell you what, we got the job done. And even United today, they can dig deep. They've got to be more intense when they're defending. They've got to be a bit more pride. I look at Dallo there, he getting interviewed after the game, and Dallo for the second goal, the intensity or his desire to stop a cross. And these are like big moments in a football match. It might be, again, it ends up being a poor cross, but Aston Villa, again, playing with confidence and believe, make the most of it, whereas United are just letting teams away with it. You can't give up 6 goals in 2 matches and stand there and expect to say we're going to get results. You're just making it really hard for yourselves. And they're up against it now with people like Bruno. OK, he's brought on a couple of younger players today. There's players away. And these are the challenges of playing for Man United. But you can also dig deep. You can also win playing ugly. You have to find a way to do that. Because there's no good turn. Part of football is when you're out of possession, and this team out of possession are nowhere near good enough. And I don't know where that intensity, that drive and belief is to try and get a result. I don't see it. Again, I've watched United today and I watched them closely recently, and out of possession, I said it before the game, teams seem to create chances and goals far too easily. There has to be a pride in when you're a player for a team to say, we're going to be hard to beat. And they're not. I think it was 18 games they lost last year.
If they were better at
possession. Well, the great example there would be the second goal. Just go in with the players tomorrow and go, listen, we're up against Villa. We have a good record here, but obviously that can come to an end as well. Villa are doing well, and they've got moments that we saw Rodgers producing moments of magic. But let's make it a bit harder for them. For a great example, if you want to analyse football, look at Dallo here. Dallo the full-back. Look at Dallo. Look at that. And you tell me that's the intensity of a desire of a footballer to say you are not going to get a cross in. It's not as if somebody's done a brilliant trick or ran at him with real pace. It's like to stand a full-back. It'd be different if it was a striker back. He's a full-back. You get down low. You get your body in position. You said, you know what, if you're going to have to do remarkably well. But this is not a tricky winger, someone light in place. This is just a little shimmy. Look at Dallo. Just focus on him. Keep watching him. Look. It's like, yeah, have a cross and then and this ends up being the winning goal, of course. And the football is about moments. Man United don't control too many games, to be honest with you. They're trying to pick moments. But after the bus, you forget the rest of the game. They would have been training all week. They would have had their pasta. They would have had their team talks. They would have come down to Birmingham last night. And then you've got a full-back who doesn't want to stop a cross. There you go. And then the player comes out afterwards, and these are important players. These are international players. You're going, and you're talking about, well, we have to dig deep. No, you have to stop a cross. Or do your best to stop the cross. To me, he's not doing his best to stop a cross there. And these are defining moments in a game of football. And we could talk all day about all the other bits, the lovely, pretty parts, but United don't do the other bits really well in terms of rolling their sleeves up. They lost far too many games this year. This year is a little bit better from going forward as a team and being a goal threat. But you talk about any really decent team, you start about being hard to beat. We look obviously where Arsenal are at the moment, and it's hard to, never mind get the goals, it's hard to get a chance. Just the last 2 games United conceded 6 goals. What chance have you got? You got Newcastle coming up in a few days. Newcastle. They'll come to Old Trafford. They'll enjoy it. They'll have runners, and we'll see the desire of Man United there to try and get a result. Because you can have all the talent in the world. We've mentioned it time and time again. But you got to roll your sleeves up, and when the game gets a bit tight, or there's moments you go, I'm going to do my bit for the team. And there's too many players like Dallo who just don't do enough. I won't use the word cheating, but they're just not doing enough. And after the game, I'd be looking at him. I wouldn't be looking at the other bits of the game. I'm saying, are you going to stop it? Same for the first goal. Players, when Rodgers gets the ball wide in the first goal, we're all sitting there. We know there's danger. Do they not know there's danger? Are they a bit blasé going, do I have to do... Yeah, these are the ugly bits of football. We know you've got the other bits, but you've got to do the ugly bits of football. That's what all the top teams do. And you get the end product here. We see... Again, we're talking about making tackles, making sacrifices. Even Dallo here, I just look here. And again, I might be hard on him today. Where's Dallo going here? Just slow down. You know Rodgers is right-footed. You know he's going to cut in. It's just... Yeah, here you go. Just give you a free shot. Brilliant finish. Take nothing away from Aston Villa. But from a United point of view, I use the word intensity and the desire to try and get a result or to make it hard for Aston Villa. You want Aston Villa after the game today in that dressing room. You want to go to the Villa dressing room and go, oh, well done. And they're like, they're exhausted, they're tired. They were like, it's not so bad playing against United. When United out of possession, they're probably one of the worst teams in the league. In possession, of course, they're good. There's a threat. They could have scored 2 or 3 goals today. But unfortunately, part of being a footballer, particularly if you want to be a top footballer, is what you do out of possession. Everyone wants to talk about what you do in possession, what you do on the other side of it. And Man United cut corners and they take too many risks, and that's why they're getting punished. And I'm glad they get punished. I like teams getting punished who take chances, end up letting their teammates down, their supporters down, and their fans down. And after the game, they're very blasé in the interviews. I'd be looking at players and I'm thinking they're like robot. They're like, oh, well, we're a bit lucky, Bruno. No, find a way. Roll your sleeves up. They don't do that well enough, United.
And it's going to get harder for Manchester United because the report on Bruno that we heard there, as much as Ruben Amorim can say at the moment, this is the next 10 fixtures, so we don't know how much of this he's going to miss, but it came off with a soft tissue injury, and he said it's going to be a little while. But they've also got players who are going to be away with the Africa Cup of Nations. That could go. I mean, some like Mbermo, Mazraoui, Ahmad, and they potentially could get. If they get to the final, they'll be missing right up to the Manchester City game. So that's the length of time they could be away. So that plus another injury, plus players who are already missing out, means that they're kind of stretched a little bit. And then if you've got Kobbie Mainoo on the fringes, with everything that's going on with him, and then he misses out on the squad today with a late calf injury, it's starting to look a little stretched for Ruben Amorim.
Yeah, I think it is. And, you look at Bruno now missing for we don't know how long. He's been the best player for Manchester United for years now. If he's now out for 4, 5, 6 games, it's going to get even tougher. And like you say, the players that are going away to the African Cup of Nations as well. Now you start looking at the squad and you're relying on maybe the youngsters that come on today. They've got no experience. Of course, they need to get that experience, but where Manchester United are at as a club, you need to get wins on the board. And the next few games that they've got coming up, of course, Newcastle at home is going to be a tough game. I think we saw that they've got Wolves, they've got Burnley. No disrespect to them teams there, but they're games that they should be winning. But when you're looking at your squad now and you're thinking, well, have I got the players to adjust and be in their positions? It is going to be tough, and you've got to get straight back on the training pitch now and work on. Like Roy was saying, we said it before the game. Going forward, they've got players that can create something out of nothing. It's the opposite side. It's working hard. It's the intensity. It's the defending, and we saw that on the 2 goals. We've been through it. Len Yoro could get out to the first one after Morgan Rogers' touch. You start to know players. You should know players. He's going to come back on inside on his right foot. And if you give him that much space and time, he could put the ball in the top corner like he did. The second goal is the same thing. It's Tielemans out there. You want to show him back up the pitch instead of letting him get a cross in. You're thinking, oh, maybe the cross won't amount to nothing, but it actually does. And, Ollie Watkins is on his front foot instead of Haven. Rogers gets a touch, he scores, and that wins the game. So it's the details of not when you're in possession, when you're out of possession, and the intensity and the work rate that you have to put in. And if you're not putting that in, you'll get punished like you did today.
And it means those comments that he made about young players, and he brought young player on today particularly, the comments that he made about them maybe being a little complacent and a little bit entitled in terms of expecting there to be a natural progress into the first team. It all feels a little bit more heightened when we hear comments like that about the senior pros, about the players who should be leading the line and should be the ones who are doing the work off the ball.
Yeah, and it's hard for young kids to come through. It's hard, they're playing against the rest of the world. They're not playing when we played. Now they're playing against kids from Brazil and all over South America where you can bring them in. So it's hard, but you want to bring these kids into good football teams. Do you know what I mean? When they make that jump, they've got to come into a team that's flying. Do you know what I mean? Like Arsenal, when you see Arsenal, they bring Wanyeri on and Dowman, they're playing full of confidence. They look after the players. Bringing them players on now. I said to Ashley, as soon as Fletcher come on, first thing you should do when Fletcher comes on, give him the ball. Straight away, give him it, get him in the game. And it's not like that. They're all looking after themselves first, and that's why it's hard for these kids. But yeah, they might have to go another way. It'd be up to the owners of the club. They might look at it and go, wait a minute, we want youth. We need youth in the team. We ain't got money to go and buy 60, 70, 80 million pound players. We've got to get these kids in, and the only way you can get them in and see if they are good is by keep on playing them. But, for me, what would it hurt playing the young kid Fletcher against Newcastle? What would it hurt? They're not winning the league. They might get top 4, doubt it. So give these kids a chance. Give them a chance at home. Newcastle, you're playing against a very good midfield in Bruno and Tonali, you know, can only help, you know, for me. So, yeah, but my big worry, when I see all them stats today, you know, Man United, he made one save, I think, Martinez, and that was when Sesko should have put it over him. The other one, obviously, headed it wide. But for all them stats that were double more than Villa,
but the goals
didn't do anything.
Even the league table, the goals against compared to and I don't mean the top teams, I'm on about the teams in the top 12 or 13. As a manager and the staff, they must be looking at the players. And you're not about bringing young players into a senior team, but you've got a proper good senior pros. Have United got that? I don't think they have. I don't think you have 6, 7, 8 top players who will drag these kids along. Absolutely not. So, yeah, sometimes you show the kids in, but you're like, well, good luck in this team. You showed a clip earlier about Nev and all these lads. When they came through, they were coming into a top dressing room. Proper men who'd won titles and would help these kids out. I don't know if there's enough senior players at United. The evidence isn't there that they will help these young kids because everyone seems to be looking after themselves. And if they're cutting corners, like we saw today with some of the goals, then these are the habits these young lads will be seeing these senior players do. And that is such a bad example for these kids to have.
Well, if you're playing at home to Newcastle on Boxing Day and Martinez plays in front of Fletcher, if you're sitting there as a kid, you think, what's the point in being here? What's the point playing a centre-half as a centre midfield player when I'm coming through? You know, he can play. He's a good player. I've seen him play. Give him a chance. Give him a chance this weekend. What worst thing that can ever happen is he has a bad game, like most of them have every other week. So you're not losing anything, and it helps. The fans go home. They go, you know, well, at least we've got one of our youngsters coming through, and they see something. Can't keep on buying 50, 60, 70 million pound players, you know.
And when we see United lose, we will obviously look at excuses for United, but it's Aston Villa's day today. 2 world-class moments, a team that's on the up, a lot of momentum, a world-class manager. So it's thumbs up to Villa today, and maybe United will have to, again, reflect and have a look what they're doing and stop cutting corners.
And having said all that, Manchester United still only 3 points off the Champions League places. So
Manchester United suffered a frustrating 2-1 defeat away to Post Aston Villa, a result that once again exposed their ongoing struggles for control, consistency, and ruthlessness in key moments. Playing at Villa Park, United started cautiously, allowing the home side to grow in confidence as the game progressed. Villa were rewarded just before halftime when Morgan Rogers produced a moment of quality, cutting inside and curling a brilliant shot beyond the goalkeeper. United responded almost immediately, showing character as Matheus Cunha capitalized on a defensive error to level the score before the break. At 1-1, the game felt finely balanced. The second half, however, belonged largely to Villa. United lost composure in midfield, especially after Bruno Fernandes was forced off with injury. Rogers struck again in the 57th minute, reacting quickest after a set piece to restore Villa's lead. Despite late pressure and several hopeful deliveries into the box, United lacked cutting edge and composure in the final third. Under Unai Emery, Aston Villa looked organized, aggressive, and confident. For Manchester United, this defeat raises familiar questions about squad depth, game management, and their ability to compete consistently against well-drilled sides.